All right, excellent. Well, thank you everyone so much for joining today for our Q4 virtual demo day. For those who don't have an opportunity to listen in today, we will have the recording up in the next day or so for you to be able to check out and watch back. We have an amazing group of founders here today. I was just mentioning to all of our founders prior to starting that, we make a real big effort at KingsCrowd to help identify the best and brightest founders that are out there actively raising capital and kind of bring them to your doorstep in a way that's accessible and provides you with the necessary information to make thoughtful, informed investment decisions. The group we have here today, we have four amazing founders that are across very different spectrums of types of companies. So I think it'll be really, really interesting opportunity to hear from many different types of industries, of founder types, so on and so forth. But all of these companies are doing really well, right? On the call, we have over $30 million in annual revenue in 2023 accounted for amongst these companies. All these companies are running the 5 to 10x revenue multiple category, which is very kind of reasonable and fair in this market versus some of the crazy valuations that you'll see either A, in the industry or B, in the venture capital ecosystem. We have over $1 billion in actual exits amongst these founders. And I don't mean like they were on the sales team of a company that sold for $1 billion. I mean, these founders have exited to the tunes of over $1 billion in actual exits, which I think is pretty phenomenal when you think about having really strong experience to build a company. So exceptional founders you're going to be hearing from. We will be unlocking all the reports so that you can actually dive in further on these organizations that are here today and check them out, whether you're a paid member or not, which I think is a pretty cool opportunity, and strongly encourage you to go read up on those and learn more about them.
Awesome, guys. Well, super excited to present today, and thanks to KingsCrowd for hosting us all today. And just really amazing to be here amongst some tremendous companies, some which I've met in the past and some new friends today. But guys, I'm going to be talking about Citizens is our brand. We are at the intersection of being a better breakfast and coffee restaurant brand, and also the intersection of a CPG brand. So I'm going to take you through our traction today. But right up front, guys, we're a national brand. We have locations in New York City, in Houston, Texas, and Austin, Texas. And we have a nationally distributed CPG line across the country. And we serve over 1.5 million guests per year currently. And that's set to scale as we become, more of a national brand in the coming years. Guys, the first thing I want to do is kind of take a step back. In order to understand the opportunity and our concept, I want to do a bit of an overview through the changes in the hospitality sector. Restaurants and hospitality is unlike other major industries in the sense that it goes through evolution and change. And I want to just kind of, highlight some of those changes and take you through to where we think the breakfast and the coffee market is today. So, restaurants initially started in France, and really one of the first major changes to the restaurant industry was the car, which introduced Michelin maps, and then came fine dining. That really caused restaurants to be more aspirational, up their quality, up their efforts, because all of a sudden customers could come from anywhere. The next biggest change came here in America, where we now know what's called the drive-through, which really came about with convenience. We saw brands like McDonald's explode, and then more recent brands like Starbucks really come to the forefront. One of the most recent, and I think one of the most amazing changes in our industry, is the introduction of a category called fine casual. And fine casual, put simply, is taking a fine dining approach to restaurants and food in serving top ingredients, great sourcing, fantastic care for the guest and for our people, and stripping back all these unnecessary costs of a fine dining restaurant, right? Reservation teams, maitre d's. So it allows it allows guests and allows such a broader subset of masses of guests to have access to just great food. Now, fast forward to today, we think that the breakfast and coffee industry is going through one of those, substantial changes. And we're seeing, off the back of Starbucks' success through the 90s and the early 2000s, Starbucks has evolved what coffee, the coffee taste to consumers in this country, and particularly with the millennials and the next generations. They did such a great job at commercializing espresso drinks, frappuccinos and you name it, mochas and things like that, that the next generation of consumers are really demanding a high touch and a premium product. And we're already seeing some of the stocks and some of the analysis on some of these legacy brands starting to decline, and the next generation demanding a more premium and better experience. Now, in order to tell the story of Citizens, I want to just point out a really fun case study, because our brand Citizens really comes from, where I was born and raised in Australia. But to really depict how far ahead Australia is in coffee and breakfast, I want to show you guys a bit of a case study in Starbucks. So Starbucks, they have over 25,000 stores here in America. They have over 40,000 stores abroad. It's fair to say that they're dominating, or one of the dominative brands in our industry. Well, back in the year 2000, they entered the Australian market, and within 8 years, closed over 80% of their stores. So there comes this question of, why wasn't Starbucks, this premium, amazing brand, able to crack the Australian market? So now I want to talk about the history of Aussie cafe culture and the evolution, and that will really paint the picture of what Citizens is. So, Australia is by heritage, we have our British roots. And after World War II came a wave of immigration, especially from the Mediterranean. And we saw a lot of technology come in from coffee, like espresso machines, ways of roasting coffee, roasting machines. So those two fusions of history, the English big breakfast and the coffee culture coming from Europe, really just birthed this exploding scene of coffee and breakfast culture. And then we had these young, innovative operators who started finding better ways to do things, better ways to roast coffee, chef-driven breakfast, better sourcing. And so we saw pretty early on in Australia a real explosion of fine casual in breakfast. And so the Aussie Cafe is born. So the Aussie Cafe, put simply, is a fine casual approach to breakfast in an accessible model and price. So what does it feel like to be in an Aussie Cafe? Chef-driven, inventive menus, specialty coffee, specialty cocktail menus, better sourcing, real hospitality and service where the team knows you by name, face, and order. So the Australian Cafe, we're betting, is the next generation of breakfast and coffee in the US. And we're already starting to see these huge companies like Starbucks import our concepts, right? Starbucks introduced the flat white to their menu 5 years ago. We're seeing avocado introduced to breakfast places across the country. But we know how to execute this model better than anyone, because we're the ones who have earned the right to scale this by importing and adopting this concept, the history, the technology, and the execution. So I'm going to really talk everyone through. Oh, yep.
Yeah, we're just seeing your mission and concept slide. Is that the slide you want us to see, or are you moving through? Okay.
It is, yeah. I'm about to move on to
Terrific.
the next slide. Yep. So up to this date, the proof is really in our traction. We have locations across New York, Houston, and Austin, and we're currently really proving that we can win this space. Our sales volumes and our reviews ahead of national brands like Starbucks. And as we continue to expand and establish brand equity, we see that as only furthering that kind of acceleration. So who are we? So we're an Australian cafe and breakfast coffee brand. We've got, under one roof, we have a bakery and a coffee to go counter, like we see on that picture on the right. And we also have over 120 seats of full service breakfast and coffee in our dining room. We see that the to-go and the full service format, that they cross-pollinate. Customers who discover us through coffee, which is an incredibly sticky product, become a breakfast customer, and breakfast customers become coffee customers. So we see that this kind of dynamic model works really well together. We serve over 1 million people in our restaurants every year. To date, we've taken in over $27 million of lifetime revenue. And we have a culture of community impact. We're a 1% company, so we choose 3 non-for-profits at every location and donate some of our profits back to those partners. These are some of our locations across the country. So we started in New York, we've got our locations there. And on the right-hand side, we've got some of our newer locations in Texas market. One of the most proudest indicators is that we've got a 4.8 rating and 4.7 rating across New York and the Texas markets. That indicates that guests, in addition to the sales, there's such a positive reception and sentiment towards the brand. These are some of our products. You can see super bright, super airy, really well presented. We do everything from fresh juices to craft cocktails to house roasted coffee to really inventive dishes like avocado toast, pancakes, eggs Benny menus. So we've got a really robust menu that really helps bring in a broad subset of customers to each one of our restaurants. Beyond our four walls, we've actually just expanded it into CPG industry. People love us for our coffee. They love us for our food. So naturally, we have that brand authority in the markets. So at the grocery store and at the office and at home, you can now access our pod coffee, our beans, and our K-Cups as well. So naturally, as our restaurant footprint grows, we're going to see our CPG division naturally scale alongside it with our brand. We see that instant coffee is about to be taken over by pod coffee. So we're heavily investing in pod coffee to be at the front of that specialty coffee CPG industry there as well. This is some of the press that we've got. We've gotten some really fun press. It's worth noting that we haven't spent $1 on marketing. It's through our best-in-class operations and execution that we get noticed by some of the biggest brands that we all read today. You know, we've been noted as, you know, dominating the brunch scene in New York and covered by brands like Forbes, Vogue, Departures, and even Fox News in the Texas market. So, you know, that's something that we're really proud of, just getting noticed by some really big publications. Some of our brand highlights to date is we've got best-in-class AUVs, so that's average unit volume sales per location. We do about 2.6 million to date. Just to give everyone a comparison, we see that Starbucks is still at about a $1.5 million range. And so we're well ahead of Starbucks per location, and we have similar real estate and cost structures as well. To date, we're on track to record $1.1 million in unit level EBITDA and projected to finish this year at $8.1 million in revenue.
Terrific. Justin, we are up on time. If you want to have a parting word, that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. The last thing that I'll say is that, you know, this page here is just such a perfect depiction for our investors. We've already proven that we're winning the space in sales and profitability across New York, Houston, and Austin markets. We've got a really clear pathway and a pipeline to scale across the country, all the way to $100 million of revenue in the coming years, alongside our CPG. And we see that the white space is endless. We've seen brands like First Watch, who are a publicly listed company in 2021 with almost a $2 billion market cap. So that's really where we see this brand going. And we're to date, we've raised $1.5 million and had really big investors join the ride, like some major investors who have come from Facebook, like Randy Zuckerberg. And we really invite everyone to join the ride and get on board with us as well. So thank you everyone for your time, and thanks to King's Crowd again.
Great. Thank you so much, Justin. That was great. We have a question from the crowd here from someone that visited your Soho location, and they say it was very enticing, but it didn't seem as if you had embraced plant-based items aside from plant-based milk, whereas your competitors are. Are you looking to change your services to address these customers, as well as change your offerings to meet the demands of specific areas?
Yeah, look, it's a great piece of feedback. You know, the food, I think consumer taste differs per market and it's rapidly changing. And we're super committed to staying at the forefront of consumer demands. So we're always looking to kind of introduce, vegan, nutritional, health conscious customers as well. So actively working on bringing in more vegan options to kind of, accommodate some of those customers who are looking for those options as well.
Great. Great. Thank you. And second question here, just wanted to ask about the kind of the retail strategy, because obviously getting into retail, getting into big grocery chains, it's a very different ballgame than selling D2C, or whereas in the restaurant where you can really showcase the Australian service and all of that. So curious the plans there, and if you plan on diverting part of your growth strategy to really leading into the retail growth side of things, or more so just expanding location count.
Teddy, it's an awesome question. And I think on this page, these are 3 brands that have actively gone beyond their restaurants and their physical locations and invested in building their CPG and their retail strategy to high velocity. And so we're super committed to scaling our retail section of our business as much as our restaurants, because what we're seeing, you can see it on this page, right? These brands, once you diversify your business and you're at this powerful intersection of restaurant and CPG, we open ourselves up to strategic acquirers, like we see on this page. Blue Bottle, who's a very comparable brand, was acquired by Nestle. Nestle is a retail and a product brand, but Blue Bottle is a coffee brand, right? So The more that we can scale and build success and traction in our CPG, we open ourselves up and our shareholder value and valuation, because the subset of buyers and strategic investors is going to be much, much broader when we're considered a household restaurant and product brand. So to your point, Teddy, we are going to go full throttle at building high velocity retail division of our business. Because as you can see, the valuations that are coming from those brands who are at the intersection, like La Colombe, acquired by Chobani, First Watch, almost a 2 billion market cap, and Blue Bottle being acquired by Nestle, that's our roadmap to a really, really bright future and shareholder returns.
Got it. Makes sense. Thank you so much, Justin.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
Outstanding. Thank you, Justin. And we've dropped the link to be able to check out the report on Citizens Coffee as well, if you want to go check them out.